with an acknowledgement of the traditional land. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is situated upon traditional territories. These territories include the Wendat, the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, and the Métis Nation. I would also like to recognize the enduring presence of the Aboriginal peoples in this land. So welcome, Michelle, to this very important topic that mental health is, seen through the eyes of a working mother. This is what is going to keep us occupied for the next 20-ish minutes that we have together. And we're going to talk about working mother, that's a dead giveaway here, but then examine more closely what I call a new normal. And I will share with you some of my go-to tips to alleviate the pressure that mental health can certainly put on our own shoulder. So if that sounds great to you and you're still here, not logged out completely, let's go. And before I forget, I may require your help and participation from time to time to make this presentation a little bit less lonely for me, at least. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Amazing. Let's do it. So what is a working mom to you? Would you care telling me what you think is a working mom? And there's no bad answers, so don't feel like you have to.
I think working parents you're either out in the field where you go out to work, or if you are at home, working and taking care of the children or the household, or caregivers, or someone significant in your life.
Amazing, thank you. I just want to acknowledge Mindy. Welcome to the mental health of a working mom workshop, Mindy. So you have all the right answers, Michelle. A working mom is certainly someone that has a job. And I would say a job that sometimes is paid, sometimes is unpaid, most time is unpaid, but frequently handle both paid and unpaid work. Would you kind of agree with that? Can you give me a thumb up so if you don't want to keep speaking? Okay. So what kind of working mom are you? Are you the one that goes and have a paid job? You have the one to have an unpaid job? Do you have both? What kind of working mom are you? Mindy, you can also write it in the chat if should you want to do that. Most unpaid. Okay, cool. So I am Gladys Simon, and I am a working mom of two, a young kid that works in a corporate environment. And I have my hands full, believe it or not, both at work and outside of work. Is there any fellow corporate working mom in this group? Mindy and Michelle, are you both corporate? Or okay, perfect. So welcome. You understand. So before we start go further, I thought it was easy to start with a quote. It is not difficult to take care of a child. It is difficult to do anything else while taking care of a child. It's difficult, it's not impossible, right? So I heard someone in my coaching practice telling me recently that she never regrets her children, but often regrets motherhood. It makes her life a little bit more complicated. Can we all relate? Okay. So the phrase working mother, in my opinion, is redundant. Mother is already by default working. And Donna Reed, whose quote is, "I'm still in here," agreed. Moms have always been busy, whether at home or at work. And prior to the pandemic, rightly or wrongly, mental health issues were not really high priorities. It was the life that we knew. That was it. I think I seem to remember at the time they were saying work-life balance. It was that term that was en vogue at the time. It was used And we had countless advice on how to attain and maintain the perfect work-life balance, right? Being a working mom is one of the most challenging and most rewarding things that I have ever done. But being a mom made me a better businesswoman. And let's face it, when you have little kids like me, you stop stressing about those little things. You start prioritizing and focusing a little bit more. I always felt like being a working woman was an advantage, not a disadvantage. And being a mom add more to you and to your skills, because motherhood allow you to practice and develop those skills on a daily basis. There's no day off for motherhood. There's no time off. There's no break. It's on constantly. So it gives you that immense opportunity to practice those skills. So I always give my title as a working mother because my children and my work are the two most important things in my life. Finding balance is probably very important, but in reality, we probably have days where we are better moms than workers and vice versa, right? Like many of us, like working mothers all over the world, I feel the constant struggle to be the best mother that I can be. And then doing that while working, I like to think that I'm setting a good example to my children so they can go and work hard to achieve their goal, to create the life that they want to live, and etc. So prior to the pandemic, and I want like a thumb up or raise of hand, say yes, or actually don't raise, just say yes in the chat if you felt that the following was normal, right? Always working, were you always working? Did it feel normal to you? So you just say yes in the chat if it was what your normal was. Then the second part that I want to say is, you know, having both paid and unpaid work, we talked about it at the beginning, and by always working at encompass your full-time job, raising your family, what was referred and still referred to as a double shift. Does it still feel normal? So you can still say yes. And then what happened into my case to cope, I created almost two Gladyses, two personas. So the Gladys at home and the Gladys at work. And I was using the commute time to switch between persona and to decompress. So say yes if you were also in the same boat, or was it just me? If it's just me, just say no. Did you also have the two personas? And if you said yes to all the questions there, you are a superwoman. Or are you a superwoman? So that was before the pandemic, right? That was what was our new normal. I don't think we ever stood or questioned. We didn't, take the time to say, well, I'm always working. I have that paid and unpaid job. But it was what we knew. There was nothing different. And then we start to experience stress, burnout, anxiety like no one else before us. And you had no one to guide us through the path of that experience, like you had when you are maybe a new mom. You go and ask your own mom or your mother figure to help you out. But being a mom in a pandemic, no one has ever experienced that. That changed the societal norm as we knew them. It changed our values. It changed our belief. Our interaction became less spontaneous. We became more isolated. So I remember taking my kids, they were really young at the time, to the park and start sanitizing all the ride and the slide before they go into it. I really literally had hand sanitizer and a wipe, and I was just going this. That changed. That was not the childhood that I had going to the park. But it highlighted the issues that we conveniently swept under the proverbial rug. So then enter the new normal, right? The pandemic came, and some will argue that it never went away. We just learned to live with it. So between the stay-at-home orders, juggling work, challenging childcare or school situation, it was an impossible loop of decision all the time. We were stressed, exhausted, and dare I say, burnout, right? This was a time of physical exhaustion, at the beginning of the pandemic, and now we have replaced it with what I call emotional exhaustion. And we deal with the daily stress of uncertainty as the mandate change and the virus keep evolving. So our new normal becomes what I call a constant, quote unquote, survival mode, right? We talked about working from home. Oh yeah, it's a luxury, but when you have kids, working from home, childcare, resting on your shoulder, you have to start juggling something. When you become the mom, the worker, the school teacher, the caregiver, the earner, 24/7, nonstop. Guess what? We were and still are stretched very, very thin. So we had to develop those skills literally from scratch. We learned to balance childcare, virtual schooling, employment vulnerability all at once. Again, no guidance, no guideline, no help. It hit us, or at least it hit me like a ton of brick, because I had no room to quote unquote reset. I felt like I was in a pressure cooker, right? And then no wonder why mental health started to become a very, very important topic. It had become a crisis that needed to be addressed or at least acknowledged. I'm going to put the number 2 million here. Would you care to guess in the chat what that 2 million represent? Just put a word. It doesn't have to be what does 2 million represent for you? No guesses? People, 2 million people. Thank you, Michelle. Well, according to the McKinsey and Company study, yeah, thank you, JB, it is representing the number of women that could leave the workforce if nothing is done in terms of flexibility, right? Companies are at risk of losing women. Over the last 6 years, I don't think people ever bother, counting when people were leaving, the difference in the rate that women and men were doing when they were leaving the workforce. But this year, that report I'm quoting shows that 1 in 4 women have considered either downshifting their careers or stepping out completely since the onset of COVID, as compared to 1 in 5 in men. So 1 in 4 women have considered leaving, as opposed to 1 in 5 in men, right? So if women take action and actually leave, we could lose as many as 2 million women from the workforce. 2 million is such a massive shift that will have a negative impact on gender diversity, I think, for decades to come. Let's go a little bit further. How will worry and stress affect mental health? And that comparison was on women and men. So most mothers report that the pandemic has taken a toll on their mental health. The majority of mothers of children under 18, so that's about 54% based on that study, say that worry or stress related to coronavirus has affected their mental health significantly higher than men with children under 18. So that's 35% of men were affected massively versus 54% of women for children under 18. So 3 in 4 women characterize the impact as major or moderate, as do 55% of those fathers. More than half of those mothers that are employed, so 56% of the women, say that it has affected their mental health and they will consider leaving the workplace. So the saddest thing for me when I read this report is like only 16% of those women with children under 16% of those women with children under 18 have sought help for their mental health care. You know, with a significant difference between those who are single and those that have a partner. So we all experience this, but only 16% of women, of mothers, have taken action. Still very low. It made me sad. And then, Michelle, I read your comment. Unfortunately, not new reality for those who identify as women. Yes, I totally agree. Let's hear from Elise. She said, I don't know how to feel sane again. I'm just stuck in this position for God knows how much longer. So many moms, just like Elise, might have had this exact symptom. I know I did. And maybe you did too at some point, or maybe you're still doing. But the new normal forced us to have those dreaded, uncomfortable conversations with ourselves. We needed to regain our composure, our balance, and dare I say, our sanity. So we learned from this, those scenes depict there might not seem bizarre to you. This is our new normal. You know, having meeting while cooking dinner, having kids that fight in the background, that's the new normal. So we learn from scratch to develop those different set of skills to establish those new boundaries, to embrace our whole self. Life happened during work, and work happened during life, and we don't skip a beat, don't we, right? What does it do for our mental health, though? Are we becoming a new breed of super moms? Are we adapting better to our challenging environment? Are we reacting? Are we proactive? Like, it's all those questions, right? I'm certainly worried about my kid and what their future look like now. So it adds more stress to me. But because I cannot, you know, separate anything, the two personas, this is my new normal. Let's go back with more analysis here. We see here on this diagram that 42% of women say they have been often or almost always burned out in 2021 compared to 32% a year ago. Just a year difference, 10% jump. Like Michelle said, not new reality, but at least we acknowledge it. Well, before, I don't even think we took the time to look at it. Right. So what do you see here? I see a working mom. I see someone that get things done and don't skip a beat, that is wearing multiple hats, that is having her employee hat and her mom hat at the same time. I see someone that solves problems. But it's about finding calm in the chaos, like Donna Karen said. And yes, Michelle, we are adaptive beings. It's how do we do it and stay well? I think we make it look good. We make it look easy and effortless because that's what we do, right? Almost like a duck in the lake. At the surface is really cool, and at the bottom it pedals furiously. We need to be good at recognizing the first sign of when something is not right within ourselves, because we're very good at diagnosing everything on our children or colleagues, but how good are we to do it within ourselves? So I said we felt a little bit more burnout with those last 2.5 years that happened, but I encourage anyone that is experiencing a significant change on their mental health to seek professional help. Here are some of the signs to look out for. Bear in mind that the list isn't exhaustive, and the presence of one or a couple of those doesn't always constitute a reason to worry. But let's keep an eye on those, shall we? Inability to sleep, yet exhausted. You could have slept the whole night and still feel tired. Increased anxiety level, overwhelmed emotionally, easily triggered, and lack of motivation. That might be what mommy burnout look like. Pay attention to those signs. Do not ignore them. So we go into what I title the practical ideas of this segment. So we have that mental health that I think conversation start happening. People share about the mental health struggle very more openly than they were 2-3 years ago. It's not shameful anymore. So here's a few things, 6 things that I put together that I felt like help a little bit. But so speaking with health, about health, let's start with health. So as mom, I think we need to really be intentional about not only asking, but also receiving help whenever we can get it. And even when I say receiving, I'm really intentional. I'm the person that will ask for help, but that will find it hard to ask for help, but I also don't know how to receive. So let's be intentional about it, even if the help doesn't look like what we anticipate. As long as that help helps you out, so your child is safe and secure, or you can be able to do something else, that's help. Ask and accept it. Create a community of people that always cheer you up, that push you out of your comfort zone, that you trust and makes you belong. We talked about self-care. Put yourself first. Be fanatical about carving some me time for yourself. Whatever it means to you. For me, it means taking an hour and dancing on any song that I want, but it could be anything for you. As long as this me time is often, do not make it that will work. So make it a priority. Don't put everybody else's need before yours, because if you can be good in your skin, how can you help other people? You have to be good first. So the key is not to prioritize what is on schedule, but to schedule our own priorities, because real life doesn't always stick to your schedule. Also, learn to delegate. That's my favorite, superpower as a mom. Delegate. You can delegate the love, the workload. You have to share your feelings. You have to say, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, I need help. So be open and vocal. Be your own advocate. And then love. More importantly, love yourself and give yourself some grace. Some days will not be as great, but there's always another day to start again. I particularly love this Michelle Obama's quote that says we need to do a better job of putting ourselves higher on our to-do list. I hope you have found our time together informative. I hope you're going to go and make yourself a priority and continue to enlighten the world with your own little light. Yes, we are our own worst critic for sure, Michelle. I will take any questions that you have. If you do have any questions, but I'm particularly grateful to have had the opportunity to share this time with all of you today.